We haven't seen that in a long time. And right now we're averaging about 11,000 voters an hour. So I think it should pick up a little bit, but if we just do the math, 11 times 12, we're still going to be in that same number range that we were in 2018. And as you know, I've been talking about we're going to beat that number. I think we should be at the 150, 160,000 instead of the 131,000. But the voters are there. Everybody's in a good mood. The campaigners are out. We have lots of poll watchers at the polls. The election officials have been telling us, but we're in contact with the election officials, and it's working out wonderfully. No, again, not major, but we had some laptops that needed a little bit extra attention. We needed a couple of election officials that needed a little attention so that they could remember how to set the laptops up. Because remember, these people haven't done this for 6 months. We had training, but everybody's up now.
When you say the laptops needed attention, what exactly does that mean for someone that doesn't really know what happens?
That's a great question. The laptops that I'm referring to are our electronic poll books. They have the entire database. We have 1.23 million registered voters. So that database is in there. And when a voter presents their ID, the judges look them up in the laptop, and then their record is marked at that point that they voted. And then they go through and they vote on the separate system, which is the election system. Well, the laptops, again, have to be connected with our private line. We have a NetMotion, which is that VPN client. I don't want to get into the details too much. And then we have to have the MiFi that will connect that. And some of our sites, like Somerset, they don't have a real strong signal. And I think you would all understand that. So till we figured out exactly where to put the laptop by the window, that's what I'm talking about.
So more of a connection issue,
yes,
more than anything.
It's not. There's no failure. Everything's there. For instance, when Somerset was not able to connect, we were on the phone with them the entire time. And any time a voter voted, we marked their record from here, and it went out. So again, it's not as smooth as we would like, but all that's over. We call that the judges getting their sea legs and everything's set up.
So was that the only site?
Well, we had Wonderland, Wright Elementary, and Somerset.
So we also had people report to us that Lopez Middle School party vote stopped working at some point this morning, and they had trouble voting out there.
I haven't heard of that. I mean, I have lots of people answering the phones. We can look into that and I can find out, but that's not one of the ones I'm aware of right now.
Okay. We also communicated with the office about at least one voting machine that may have had some sort of calibration issue or something like that, including library. Have there been machines that have to be at least temporarily taken into service because of calibration issues?
I know of two. I know of two, and again, like even for our curbside voting units, we had officials that would call in and say they weren't charging, and so for that we were like, we'll pick them up and reset them in that cradle, and then they told us yes, they were charging. So, and I know of two calibration issues. I couldn't tell you exactly where, but we did have two calibration issues. It is. Yes, thank you. Again, that's what I always go like, it's till everybody gets their sea legs. You know, every piece of equipment has to be turned on, it has to be working, set up, and I'm just proud of them. They did a great job, and they were nervous this morning because, again, they had people waiting to vote, which is wonderful. I mean, that's what we want. But you can imagine that just raises their little senses up a little bit, makes them a little bit more nervous, because they want to make sure everything works so they can get those first voters in.
Was anyone turned around for whatever reason because of these issues?
Not to my knowledge. I think maybe a couple people left Somerset until we got into the mood of talking on the phone and doing it. I can't tell you how many, but I think that a few people left and said, I'll come back later.
How long after something like that, Somerset, how long was there an issue where people had to wait in line? How long did they have to wait to vote? When you guys had to?
Again, maybe 15 minutes until we got our system in place, and they're up and going now. So
Maybe a message to our community, because a lot of people haven't yet come out to vote. What do you tell them today?
isn't that wonderful? It looks like the weather's going to cooperate. Hopefully the sun will come out. We want them to come to the polls. As you all know, because you've been here with us, early voting was a little bit down on the numbers that we were looking for. And we're hoping that those people were waiting for today to vote. But we won't know that till we talk to you the next time. Right now we're at 11,000 an hour, give or take a couple hundred. And we will be posting on our Facebook. So follow our Facebook pages, because we do put the numbers up there every hour to gauge it for you. Okay?
Did the turnout this morning, did that kind of meet your expectation of the process to be necessarily meeting the more people coming out on election day?
Yes. And so to answer that question, so I was hoping that we would have had more than 11,000 an hour voting at our 300 sites, but we're pleased with the 11,000 that we're averaging right now. Obviously, we know that number will skyrocket after 4 or 5 o'clock as it gets to be the end of the voting day, because again, that seems to be human nature. I'm going to get there. I'll get there at the last minute. But please help us and make sure that the voters know they can go to any site. Please, whenever you're making your comments, go to any site. If you see us, if you pull up to a site you're used to and you see that there's a line, please go up to the front of it. Every site has a flyer that says this is the vote center and here are the 4 closest ones. And they may be able to drive somewhere within 5 minutes that has no line. So again, every site tells the 4 closest, and just have them check that in case they get there. And I don't want them to be stymied because there's a line. But for me, the best thing would be there's a line, because that means the voters are coming out. So let's hope, and we'll give you some numbers when we see you again, okay? Thank you.
All right, 3 o'clock, guys. Any questions, call us.
Yeah, you want me to go with you or you want me to go with you?